Hey David, welcome to the Optimal Health Show. How are you doing?
Hey, doing great, Amir.
I'm happy you're on here. You were on last time. We are talking about ketogenic diets. Actually, on a side note though, that podcast right now on YouTube, man, I think it's like past like 100,000 views, man. It's
It's awesome.
insane.
It's awesome, man.
Insane,
It's a
man.
hot topic.
But I love seeing people argue about it. I'm like, holy shit. If people cared this much about like world issues, the world would be a better place. Like people are so like crazy about like carbs and these types of foods. I'm like, wow. Well, Israel and Gaza are at war. They're arguing over if a carb is good or not. My God. My
Yeah,
God.
absolutely.
But anyways, our special podcast today is going to be a little bit different. We're going to be talking about the top 7 supplements that you should be taking to optimize your health. So now, these aren't your ordinary top 7 supplements. These are probably supplements / herbs that you never ever heard of. So why don't we quickly jump into it, David? What is the #1 thing on our list today?
Yeah, so like I was telling you before we started the call, is we really want to talk about things that people probably are not as aware of, right? So there are certain basic foundational supplements I think everybody would benefit from, getting like their omega-3s up, vitamin D, doing things to help support their gut like probiotics and stuff like that. So those are foundational supplements. But today we're going to take a different angle. We're going to talk about really performance aids, things that are going to help improve performance, help really knock down inflammation in the body, and just overall just help you kick ass in life, which I know you like to do. So as we get started here, first one we're going to talk about is really adaptogenic herbs. This is something I thoroughly enjoy using. And so there's a lot of different adaptogens, but the reason why we want to use adaptogens, and I'll kind of define that term, adaptogen meaning adaptogenic herbs. So it helps you adapt to stress more effectively. So these are herbs that are typically grown in areas where they're under extreme heat, extreme cold. They have a wide variety of temperature ranges, and so they've developed the adaptive abilities. They have things called tetrapenes in them that give them the ability to adapt to these harsh climates. And so when we consume them, they give us the ability to adapt to many different stresses in our life. And so things like ashwagandha is a fantastic one. And this is all, Amir, just under one grouping, adaptogenic herbs. So you've got things like ashwagandha, you've got holy basil, which is also called tulsi, you've got rhodiola, you've got ginseng, you've got maca, which is another one. These things are all fantastic. And again, really the goal of these is they help modulate or coordinate your stress hormone release. So when your body's under stress, you're going to release stress hormones like cortisol and epinephrine, adrenaline, things like that to get your heart rate up, to distribute blood flow to major areas of the body. And so sometimes we need a lot of stress hormone. Sometimes we're under stress and we really shouldn't. Sometimes we have a chronic stress response going, and it's detrimental to our body to have elevated stress hormone. So the adaptogenic herbs, when we're using them, they just help coordinate the stress response. So when we do need a lot of stress hormones, they help our body become more efficient with that. And when we don't need a lot of stress hormone in our bloodstream, they help keep the stress hormone down, which really provides anti-aging benefits. It also helps improve your memory because high stress hormone over a long period of time destroys your brain. So these things are amazing for helping preserve your memory, improving blood flow into your brain, and just overall giving more endurance, strength, and overall performance. So adaptogenic herbs, that's our first one.
Now, is there any particular brands that you like?
Yeah, I really like, there's a lot of different good brands out there, I will say. I'm not familiar with all of them, but the one that I personally use is from Apex Energetics, and it's called Adaptocrine. And the reason why I really like that is it takes all of those. It takes Panax ginseng, Siberian ginseng, ashwagandha, holy basil, rhodiola. It also has other different things in there like betaine HCl, peptidase, cellulase for improved absorbency, and puts them all together. And so when you have these adaptogenic herbs, when they're all together, they synergize. And that's what the literature is starting to show. And so I noticed profound changes taking this supplement as opposed to using just straight ashwagandha or just straight holy basil. So when they work together, they synergize. So that's Apex Energetics, Adaptocrine, and I have that actually on my website available too.
Nice. We'll have that in the show links.
Yeah.
Cool. So what's number 2?
So number 2, we're going to talk a little bit about just detoxification in general. So, in our society today, I mean, there's over 500 chemicals stored in the average individual's body, 500 chemicals, and every time we urinate, we release at least 7 pesticides. And so even people like you and I, Amir, who do our best to stay on an organic diet, stay away from environmental toxins, we're still exposed. We just have a toxic onslaught. And so we've got to be doing things on a regular basis to really improve the detoxification ability of our body and really help improve our liver function. And so a good detoxification protocol, a lot of times, like, we've heard about things like maybe a colon cleanse or something like a liver cleanse, but really we want to cleanse from 5 different areas. So first place we got to start is with our cells, okay? And so when we look at the cell, we've got antioxidants that protect our DNA, and these antioxidants like glutathione, superoxide dismutase, and catalase, they protect the DNA and they help kick toxins, free radicals, things like that, kick them out of the cell to keep the cellular components healthy. So we want to boost our ability to detox from the cellular level. And so how do we do that? We want things that help boost glutathione, things that help boost superoxide dismutase. So you can supplement with things like maybe cysteine, which is a great supplement to help boost glutathione. You can find supplements with catalase and superoxide dismutase. The one I'm talking about is also available on my website, Maximize Living Daily Detox. It's got a cell detoxification component. That's where it starts. Then toxins are in the bloodstream, so we got to purify the blood. So how do we purify the blood? We use a lot of green vegetables. Chlorophyll is the best thing for blood purification, so chlorophyll-rich foods. So whether you're juicing vegetables on a regular basis, a great way to purify your blood. You can also take supplements with things like wheatgrass, oatgrass, chlorella, spirulina, different things like that to help detoxify the blood. And the third area is liver detoxification. And so liver detoxification, we go through a couple different processes. We've got phase 1, which is P450 enzymes, cytochrome P450 enzymes, and then phase 2, which depends again on glutathione, like we talked about, sulfur compounds like cysteine, so it depends on methylation. So things that are going to really help with that process are going to be things like cysteine again. We talked about that for cell detox, glycine, glutamine, ginger, milk thistle. Many listeners have probably heard of milk thistle, fantastic for liver support. Sulfur compounds, glutathione, so like MSM would be a sulfur compound. Glutathione itself, or a reduced form of glutathione, all that stuff really, really helps. You can also use things that are going to improve bile flow too, because bile flow is a key part of that. So things like ginger, which we already talked about a little bit, fennel, fenugreek, those things really help with bile flow, which is a key part of that detoxification process too. We also want gut movement. So, probiotics are an important part of that, but the gut is obviously, so we get the toxins out of the liver. We're going to remove those toxins mostly through our urine and our colon. I mean, we definitely will remove some through our respiration as well, but through our elimination channels, gut and urine are key. So we need to make sure that we're supporting our gut and our kidneys. So with gut, we want to really make sure we've got a lot of good fibers. So things like flaxseed, chia seed really help with that. Psyllium, so that really helps bind to toxins. This product here that I like to use, this Maximize Living Daily Detox, it also has activated charcoal in it, which has an incredible adsorbency capacity, like a sponge, just really sucks up a ton of toxins. And then it's got magnesium oxide, which really just helps improve motility, gut motility. So it helps move things through. A lot of times, especially people that are toxic, that do have issues or perhaps digestive issues, they struggle with gut motility, and oftentimes fiber and especially charcoal bind them up and they become constipated. And so the magnesium oxide in there really is a perfect combination. It also has carminative herbs. So that's peppermint, fenugreek, fennel, ginger, that help, again, just help with the motility, so the contractions of the digestive system to get the toxins out. And then finally, kidney cleansing. So we want herbs that strengthen the kidneys, things like dandelion, peppermint, fenugreek, fennel, ginger. You know, you see ginger is really key in here. Ginger is so good for multiple different aspects. So it's good for HCl production in the stomach, great for bile flow from the liver, very good for phase 2 detox in the kidneys, or I'm sorry, in the liver, and but also very good for the kidneys as well. So so a lot of these herbs kind of cross over, but these are the things that we want to be using on a regular basis. So those 5 areas, again, for a good whole body detox, we want things that are going to support cell detox. So we talked about glutathione, superoxide dismutase, catalase, those intracellular antioxidants. We want good blood cleansing. So that's going to be green leafy vegetables, chlorophyll, lots of chlorophyll. So it could be single cell algae like chlorella spirulina, wheatgrass, oatgrass, just chlorophyll-rich foods, the best thing for cleansing the blood. Liver detoxification. So we talked about things like milk thistle, glutathione, sulfur compounds like MSM, glutamine, glycine, cysteine. We talked about ginger. So things like that, fantastic. Gut movement.
What's your take on N-acetylcysteine for glutathione?
Yeah, N-acetylcysteine, fantastic. So great standalone supplement. Also good to get those kinds of things in just a blend for a full body, in a sense, a full body detox. So gut movement, we talked about fibers. We talked about activated charcoal. We talked about magnesium oxide to help with just overall binding and sweeping toxins out of the gut. And then kidney detox. So we talked about some different herbs like fenugreek, fennel, ginger, peppermint, and milk thistle, again, helps support the kidneys. So that's the second product, a really good detox system. I like the Maximize Living Daily Detox.
We'll have that in the show notes as well.
Great. All right, you want me to jump into number 3?
Yes, please. We're on a roll.
Okay.
This is awesome.
All right, good. We're rolling. So number 3 is Resveratrol. Okay, and so Resveratrol comes from grape skins, and so Resveratrol very, very powerful for really reducing inflammation. So these inflammatory spirals in the body, and so it helps support. It's an immune modulator, helps coordinate our immune system. So we've got really 2 major branches of our immune system. We've got this Th1 system, Th2 system, and those are like 2 arms that need to be balanced. Okay, so like think about a scale, they need to be balanced. And Th3 is actually, in a sense, what helps balance out those systems. And so Resveratrol really helps with balancing out the Th3 system. So it balances, coordinates our immune system. It also helps shut down these major inflammatory spirals. Okay, so if somebody were to look at literature like on cancer development or any kind of chronic disease development, they'll see certain pathways like nuclear factor kappa beta, so this NF-κB pathway. And NF-κB really amplifies oxidative stress in our body. So rather than just fighting against like a couple free radicals here and there, it basically pounds us. It just pounds our body. When NF-κB is unregulated, it pounds our body with oxidative stress. And when NF-κB becomes unregulated, that's when we quickly decline. So we age, we accelerate the aging process. Cancer, if we're genetically susceptible, we're developing that. Cancer growth accelerates. Alzheimer's accelerates. So it all has to do with breakdown in this ability to modulate NF-κB. And so Resveratrol has a very, very positive effect on that. Really helps reduce that inflammatory spiral. And one of the ways that I explain it to patients that come in my office that have chronic disease is I talk about it like a snowball effect. So it's like an avalanche, right? So the snowball just starts rolling down the hill, and it starts grabbing up other snow, and before long, it gets very large, and it develops more and more momentum, and it's very tough to stop. And so that's that NF-κB pathway. So high doses of Resveratrol can be very effective, and I like to get it in an emulsified form. So in a fat-soluble form, I like a product from Apex Energetics where it's called Resveratrol Active, and it actually tastes amazing. It tastes like a pina colada. It's in a medium-chain triglyceride form, which is the most bioavailable form of fatty acid. And so very easy to digest. It's flavored with lohan extract, which is a low glycemic sweetener. It tastes really good. And you can get high doses in people's bodies this way. You know, I used to do it with capsules, but you know, people after a while, especially with chronic disease, are swallowing 100 capsules a day or whatever. They get really tired of it, right? So having a nice tasting liquid is much more beneficial, and they can put it in a shake and do things like that.
Well,
And
how much does one take though? Say they're very chronically sick.
I like to get them on about 2 grams, right? So it's very high doses. Sometimes, you know, if I don't feel like that's going to do the deal, depending on how fast they're accelerating, I'll do 5 grams a day of the liquid emulsified resveratrol. Okay, and the good thing about it is you really can't get enough. You know, obviously to a degree, there's a certain level where the benefits, you're not going to get quite the benefits per cost, I guess you could say, but you're not going to overdose on this stuff. That's the good thing about it. And you know, there's a lot of research coming out about how it actually improves our lifespan. So there's a lot of studies being done on animals. Like I've got one I'm looking at right here, Harvard study, this is 2003. They found that resveratrol boosted the lifespan of yeast cells by as much as 70%. They also did a study on fish in 2006, and they found that resveratrol could extend life by more than 50% in certain species of fish. And so very, very cool stuff. It really, really affects gene expression. And so we talk about epigenetics, we talk about genetic mutations, and pulling the genetic switch. Well, resveratrol had shown powerful effects at, you know, even when you've pulled, let's say, an autoimmune switch, right? Let's say, you know, just genetically you're susceptible to developing an autoimmune disease. You know, we're told that once you develop that, there's no going back, that maybe we can reduce the symptoms, but there's no going back. Well, research is coming out talking about things like resveratrol with the ability to actually shut down or suppress that switch, which is really cool, even after it's already been expressed, which is very, very fascinating.
That's awesome. That's why you have all the people in the wine community raving about it, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, you know, you'd have to drink about something like, you know, to even get 50 grams of resveratrol, you have to drink something like 80 glasses of red wine. There's just not enough in there.
Yeah, you have like one pro versus like 20 cons.
Yeah, exactly. To get a clinical dose, you got to drink like 80 glasses of red wine in a sitting, and then you'd have such tremendous amounts of sugar and alcohol that would deplete all your methylating factors and cause you with, you know, cause your blood sugar to go through the roof. So yeah, that's not really the best way to get it. So, all right, moving into the next one, we're going to talk a little bit about turmeric, and turmeric really has a lot of similar effects as resveratrol. Very, very powerful for, again, blocking the NF-κB pathway, as well as another pathway called tumor necrosis factor alpha pathway. So turmeric, very, very powerful for that. Also, lots and lots of studies on turmeric, and really I should say the active component in turmeric, curcumin, and its ability, again, to have this profound epigenetic effect and influence our genes in a really positive way. Reduces inflammation, helps with the detoxification process. You know, I could have included that in pretty much almost everything I talked about when I talked about detox. I could have thrown turmeric in there. Helps with phase 2 liver detox. Helps with improves gut motility. Actually, believe it or not, helps really reduce inflammation in the gut, which is powerful. So it helps with nutrient absorption. A lot of profound effects there. So again, with that one, I like to get it because turmeric really absorbs best when it's in a fat form, and also it has some black pepper in it as well. The pepperine in the black pepper helps improve absorption. So if I'm going to get it in nutrition, like using turmeric in my diet, I like to make, for example, I'll get grass-fed beef, I'll put a ton of coconut oil on my pan, and I will cook the grass-fed beef, and then after it's cooked, I will put a ton of turmeric in there. Turmeric really doesn't have a whole lot of flavor, which is good. Obviously, it can stain, so you got to be careful about that. But I'll put a bunch of turmeric in there, so I almost make the beef kind of.
You have to be careful. When I shred my turmeric, because I get the root from Hawaii, my fingers are like pure yellow for the next 3 days. Like I look like some kind of bird.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the downside. It is highly staining.
Yeah.
Yeah, so putting it in my diet again, I'll make the beef kind of orangey, and it really doesn't affect the flavor much of the beef. And I'll put on other herbs too to give it more flavor, and I'll put black pepper in there, maybe a little apple cider vinegar, and so that just improves the absorption. So I've got the fats in there, the black pepper. So it's a great way to get it in your diet. I always notice when I do that, when I have a meal that's just chock full of turmeric, or if I juice turmeric or something like that, it's like my skin feels so much better. And that's a good sign of detoxification. When your skin feels really, really soft and smooth, that's just a good sign that your body's handling oxidative stress very well, as opposed to when it's like dry and scaly.
You just mentioned juicing. How do you juice turmeric?
Well, what you can do is, like, let's say you're juicing, you're just making a standard juice. Like, one I like to make is I'll take like 2 cucumbers, maybe half a stalk of celery, some spinach and some kale, a lemon, and maybe a little bit of ginger root, and maybe half of an organic apple. And so I'll put that all in there, and then I might take maybe an inch or so, or inch or 2 of turmeric, and put that in the juicer as well. So just a ground I should say turmeric root. It's kind of like ginger. Kind of has you buy it by the hand if you do it like that. But if you buy the powder form, which I do as well, I've got a big mason jar of it right next to my stove actually. And so I just put it in different foods. It's incorporated in there. But again, it really helps you boost glutathione, helps reduce inflammatory pathways in your body, modulate stress. So very, very, very good. And the supplement I like for that is Tumeroactive. And so that's, again, fat-soluble from Apex Adaptogenics. So again, not a capsule form. It tastes very, very good, flavored with lohan extract. So very enjoyable to take. And somebody could just take a standard dose like I do on a regular basis of this. Or, of course, if you do have chronic disease, we want to do, again, up there around 2 to 5 grams a day. And, that's what's cool about it is high doses, like somebody, for example, with, like there's a guy with Alzheimer's disease that I've been consulting with his family, and just doing ketogenic diet, high doses of coconut oil, and then just scoops. And this guy can't swallow pills, so this works perfect. So they're just spooning him Tumeroactive and Resveratrol. He likes the taste of it, and they're already noticing that his memory is improving. They're already noticing that he can go to the bathroom on his own. He can do all these other things, and it was like literally within a day or two, just noticing significant changes right away. And it's powerful stuff. So that's the next one, Tumeroactive. All right, you ready for me to jump in another one?
Rock and roll it, baby. Okay,
cool. So next one we're going to talk about is just really helping the gut heal. Okay, so we talk about things like probiotics for the gut, and I know years ago I just thought probiotics were the answer to everybody's gut problem, and it would be cool if that was the case. And most people will benefit from a good quality probiotic supplement. So if you're a practitioner or a health coach and you're getting people on probiotics, you'll probably help 80%. Will probably see good changes. But where the rubber hits the road is really being able to help that other 20%. And oftentimes these are the really challenging cases. And so most of the time with these people, they have just severe leaky gut. And probiotics alone are just not going to get the job done. So we need things that are going to really help provide the nutrients the gut needs to heal, seal, and repair. Sometimes we've got to kill off bad microbes. So sometimes we need antimicrobials. But most people with leaky gut are going to really, really benefit from a supplement that combines things like L-glutamine. L-glutamine is the major amino acid that the enterocytes, the cells of the intestine, utilize for energy. And so they need that to help form and reform, and to grow and to strengthen the junctions in the gut. So there's these tight junctions that become weak and permeable because we're eating a bad diet, we're eating on the go, all the different reasons. I mean, most people are eating and they're stressed, so they're not giving their digestive system the time it needs and the blood flow it needs to effectively digest. Their hydrochloric acid is down, so they've got big proteins getting into their gut lining, getting into their small intestine. So there's all these reasons why our gut is permeable. L-glutamine can really, really help just support those tight junctions to reduce the intestinal permeability. So that's a really powerful one. You've got things like deglycerized licorice extract, which is powerful. Licorice extract itself is just really, really good. It just basically helps with the our intestine forming the mucus it needs to protect the lining. It also is very good as an antimicrobial against things like H. pylori. And so H. pylori is the bacteria that typically is associated with reduced hydrochloric acid production. It builds up in our stomach and blocks our parietal cells' ability to produce hydrochloric acid. So DGL, it's called, or deglycerinated licorice extract, helps protect and heal the gastric lining, helps with just stomach acid production. So there's a lot of good benefits there. Slippery elm is another great one. Just helps again with the mucilage. So helps with this mucus lining that we should have in our stomach to protect our stomach tissue, our stomach lining, from hydrochloric acid, the harsh aspects of the hydrochloric acid. We need that to protect it, or else we're going to develop things like gastric reflux, ulcers, stomach ulcers, and things like that. So slippery elm really helps improve with that. Also in your small intestine, large intestine, you should have a really good mucosal membrane. So mucus that protects the small and large intestine. Without that mucosal membrane, you are going to never get over, your body can never really get over leaky gut syndrome. You'll always have intestinal permeability no matter what kind of nutrition changes you make if you never rebuild and strengthen and support your intestine's ability to produce that mucous membrane. So slippery elm, very good for that. Marshmallow root extract, another one. Aloe vera. We'll just run through a couple of these. Aloe vera, Spanish moss, German chamomile extract. So these are all cool things that really, really help. And then, a good supplement should have kind of a combination of these, ideally, rather than just one. Everybody's a little bit unique and different. So sometimes we respond more to one than another. And sometimes these things, just like we talked about the adaptogenic herbs, there's a lot of thought out there that they synergize together. So taking a combination can be helpful. And while we're taking that, whatever supplement we take with that, ideally would also have things that help reduce inflammation in the gut. So things like MSM, right, which is methyl sulfonyl-methane. So that's very good for reducing inflammation in the gut. The supplement may have things like resveratrol, right, like we already talked about. So things that, again, are going to reduce inflammation in the gut, digestive enzymes.
Is there anyone that you use in particular with your clients?
Yes, I use Apex Repairvite. Okay, so Repairvite, it's got about 2.5 grams of glutamine in there, so which is a good standard dose. Sometimes, depending on how damaged a person's gut is, I'll get them up to like maybe 4 servings of that a day, maybe for a month, just to really, really work on repairing the gut. Usually I start them out with about a 1 serving for a week, kind of see how they do, how they tolerate the blend of supplements, because people with leaky gut are, as you know, Amir, challenging to work with because they have so many different sensitivities, and our immune system is oftentimes just so haywire. So I like to see how they tolerate it at first. Then I'll start to gradually boost them. And that's key, especially with glutamine, because glutamine is something that if somebody tolerates it, they can handle very high amounts. However, if they don't have an enzyme that converts glutamine into GABA, this glutamic decarboxylase enzyme in their brain, they can end up with high amounts of glutamate in their brain. And high amounts of glutamate in the brain can be excitotoxic. And so basically, I like to start them out with small amounts. And I ask them, have you noticed more anxiety when you take that? Do you have anxiety? Do you have restlessness? Are you irritable when you take it? And if they're saying no to that, then we start gradually bringing up their dosage. Okay? They don't feel really inflamed when they take it. We start gradually improving their dosage. And it's really cool when we're able to get them on 4 or 5 servings of it a day, because we know we're going to get fast results, get that gut lining back in track, and they're going to heal faster. So Apex Energetics Repairvite, you can find that again on my website as well. Mir, I think I lost your volume there. I lost your volume.
I'm back.
All right, you're back, yeah.
All right, technical issues. It always happens. Anyways, yeah, like I was saying, we're going to have everything in the show notes. So we're going to have all the supplements Dr. David Jockers talking about. We're also going to have all the resources he's mentioning and as well all the links to everything he's talking about. So I'm super excited. What's next on the list?
So last thing we're going to talk about today is a really cool immune regulating supplement. And this is one that most people probably have not heard of, but it's pretty profound. And the research coming out on it is quite incredible. Now, many of your listeners may have heard of like maitake mushrooms and different things like that, and the benefits of using mushrooms. And mushrooms are fantastic. And what we found is really the major immune boosting ingredient in mushrooms is something called beta-glucan. Okay, and so taking that supplement and making it actually even more bioavailable, that's been a challenge. In fact, I was talking to the manufacturer of this supplement, and he said years ago, about 15 years ago, the process to make this supplement available costs about $1,000. It was impossible to put it on the market because of how expensive it was. Yeah, and he actually patented a way to get this supplement, get the cost down significantly. But anyways, the product's actually called beta-1,3-D-glucan. And it's very popular in many different natural health practitioners' cancer protocols. If you read books like my friend Ty Bollinger wrote a book called Cancer, Step Outside the Box, okay, fantastic book. Also, another friend of mine, Dr. Veronica Desaulniers, she wrote a book about breast cancer, surviving breast cancer naturally, something along those lines. Can't remember exactly the title, but something about surviving breast cancer naturally. She used this product in her own case and talks all about the benefits of it in there. And so that's how I was actually exposed to it. But very, very powerful supplement for just strengthening natural killer cells in your body and just overall immune function. And so, you know, oftentimes like when I'm giving advice, when I'm counseling people to help support their body's ability to fight cancer, because that's the term we use. I don't treat cancer or cure cancer, but we just help people support. We support their body and their body's immune system in fighting off cancer. This is one of the key supplements that I'll use, but it's also fantastic for anybody that just wants to improve their immune system. And so just very, very powerful, but it's called Transfer Point beta-1,3-D-glucan. Okay, and it's actually made out of brewer's yeast. They take Saccharomyces boulardii. They take a component of that, and they're able to produce this product. And so it's been shown to be highly tolerable, highly bioavailable, and works fantastic to really help strengthen the immune system naturally. So I've got lots of research on it on my website. But basically, just to summarize it, it's a polysaccharide. We find polysaccharides in several different things like echinacea. It's one of the ways that echinacea improves our immune system is through polysaccharides. Goji berries have polysaccharides that help strengthen the immune cells. And so the white blood cells are able to kind of, in a sense, kind of consume the polysaccharide, and it carries biological information in the actual polysaccharide. And scientists call it a biological response modifier. And it binds to the surface of innate immune cells and allows them to have better coordination in their attack. You know, and that's really what a good immune response is about. You know, I've used the term boosting our immune system before, but it's not necessarily about boosting our immune system. It's more about modulating and coordinating our immune system. That's really the key. And so this product, along with, you know, things we already talked about, resveratrol, curcumin, these things are great at helping coordinate our immune system. So the way I like to explain it to people is like playing darts. So for playing darts, you know, you might have 10 opportunities, but you know, you might be hitting the wall, right? You might only hit the actual board 3 times, and so you're going to be a lot more effective. You don't even need as many opportunities because every single throw that you have at the dartboard consumes your energy, right? So it actually takes energy, and it's distracting because you could be doing something else with your time. As opposed to if you had 3 opportunities, you know, and you hit a bullseye every single time, a lot less energy demanding on your body, and a lot more effective. And that's really what these things do, is they allow your immune system to operate effectively, more effectively than it naturally would, and with less energy demand. So it frees up more energy for healing, more energy for detoxifying, more energy for just regenerating cells, for improving digestion, and improving all the other systems of your body. So that's another great supplement, beta-1,3-D-glucan.
That's awesome. So that wraps it up. Those are the 7 special supplements / herbs / botanicals that people should be focusing on. David, where can people find more information about you, what you do, and everything that you stand for?
Absolutely. Well, they can find me at drjockers.com. So it's drjockers.com. And also on my Facebook page, Dr. David Jockers. So we got a great community going over there, and I post a lot of great stuff and latest research, great articles. And it's a great way to just communicate and share the message. And so all these kinds of things that we talked about today, I'm always sharing new information about resveratrol, just like we talked about with the studies done on yeast and fish, turmeric. So that's the best way to connect with me, my website and Facebook page.
Right on. Well, thank you so much, David, for coming on the show. Definitely we'll have you back for round 3, because you're always a hit when you come on the Optimal Health Show. Till then, my friend, have a great day, bro.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Amir. I really appreciate you. You're doing great things, and I really love your community. And you're just getting the message out, helping a lot of people. So keep up the great work.
Likewise.
All right.